So you've decided you wanted to get an RV. Boy, do we ever know the feeling. And if your experience is anything like ours, we promise you won't regret it. Not only are you going to have a new mode of transportation and a new living space all in one, you're on the cusp of an adventurous new lifestyle with a warm, supportive, and knowledgeable community ready to greet you along the way. But before you venture out into the showroom at your local RV dealer, where you'll be greeted by hundreds of options, there's a few things you may want to consider. Are you looking for something that you can drive or something to tow? Are you looking for travel capacity and size or something a little more nimble? Is more living space what you're after, or is it more sleeping space that's the priority? How about amenities or storage? What about cost? If you're overwhelmed by all of these questions, let alone the ones that you may not even know to ask yet, that's okay. We've been there too. In fact, that's precisely why I paid a visit to Sicard RV in Smithville, Ontario, to sit with RV sales specialist Jesse Felice in order to gain some insight into the process of choosing the right RV.
Okay, so Jesse, most people that have an interest in RVing but haven't taken the first step to getting an RV could be intimidated by the process. I know for me personally, I've wanted an RV my entire life. And what happened in my case was I would go to a dealership or an RV show and I would see a million RVs. There's just too much. How do you help someone like that?
Well, nowadays, most people come in, they say, you know, I'm new to this RVing, I want to get into it. What do you suggest? And you ask the first questions of, you know, family, how many people you're going to sleep, vehicle you're looking to tow with, and stuff like that to really help narrow it down.
Well, let's talk about what they're towing with. I mean, what if they don't want to tow? I mean, would you say that that fundamentally is one of the first points where there's a fork in the road? Do you want to tow
Correct.
it or do you want to drive?
Do you want to tow it or drive it? And that comes down with the vehicle. They say, well, I've got a car, I can't really tow anything, so I'm looking more to drive something.
Are there other reasons why somebody would choose a drivable over a towable?
Location of where you're going. Let's say you want to go through the mountains, you're going out towards Alberta, these provincial parks where size matters, right? You can't have a big 40-foot trailer going into a provincial park. You know, and sometimes things need to be smaller. Having something like a B-Class, something which you have with the smaller van, where you can drive that into these provincial parks, you can park it in just a normal car parking space. That is a lot better than having a trailer, because now you get the trailer and the vehicle, right? You combine those two together, it's quite a large unit. So it comes down to where you're going with it.
Okay, so someone comes to see you and they say, okay, Jesse, I want an RV, and the decision is drivable. Then I guess another consideration would be the overall size.
Yes.
Which primarily would be based on what you just said. It needs to kind of fit the mission, fit the objective.
Yes, exactly.
So if you want to be nimble and you want to be much more free to go to more places, smaller could be better than larger.
Yep.
But conversely, small starts to feel pretty darn small.
Yes.
And this is where larger comes into play. So you may be losing a little bit of your being quick and nimble, but you're gaining space.
Yes.
The motorhome that we're in, how large is this?
This is a 40-foot. So from bumper to back, it's 40 feet long. This is specifically designed for people, mostly for retirement, where, you know, maybe somebody's retiring, they're gonna go down south, they're gonna go to Florida for 6 months, right? This is perfect for them because it's like a house on the inside, whereas something like a fifth wheel is maybe more designed just strictly for camping. This could be full-time living.
So do people need like a truck driver's license to drive larger RVs?
Most of the larger 40-foots and beyond, you need at least a D license with the Z endorsement because they do have air brakes.
Okay, so for people who aren't in Ontario necessarily, any motorhome that has air brakes very likely will require an air brake endorsement on their license. So let's talk about different kinds of drivables now. There are various classes. Why don't you tell us about the class?
There's A class, B class, and C class. So the A class, which are these bus style, which can start anywhere from only 26 feet and go all the way up to 45 feet. And then you have the B class, which would be like a van. You can still park it in a regular parking spot, and they don't have the bunk that comes over the top of the cab. So then when you put the bunk over the top of the cab, that's when it's called the C class. So those ones too, they can range from anywhere from 22 feet up to 32 feet. Now, the advantage to a Class A over a Class C is now most of the time the bunk area up top over the cab is gone, and the floor, because now it's risen up, it's higher from the ground, goes over top of the engine, making your interior much longer. So you have more space on the inside, however, you're still the same amount of feet. The C classes, they're more designed for a family of 4 or more, and they want to have a larger sleeping capacity. That's what the C class is more designed for.
So a Class C is more about sleeping space?
Yes.
And a Class A is more about living space?
Correct. Correct. You gain a lot more living space on a Class A.
So A, C. Where does B fit in all this now?
The B is the adventurous type that loves to just drive around and continuously travel. It's small, nimble, easy to get around places. Again, like I was talking about, it can park in a regular car parking space. So you can literally go anywhere. You can drive it into the middle of a field and use it. That's the nice thing about having a C class, but the sleeping capacity goes from either 2 to 4 people, rarely more than that. But you still get bathroom, bed, kitchen, all inside this little van. It's really cool. It's really neat, becoming very popular.
So let's talk about some of the amenities that make a luxury coach a luxury coach. What would a Class B or C be missing that a luxury coach has, and are you really missing it?
So something like specifically this luxury coach, we have 2 bathrooms. Now, when you get into the smaller coaches, the non-luxury coaches, they usually have 1 bathroom, or in a B class, where you have what's called a wet bath, where you have the toilet, the shower, the sink, all in one enclosure. It's all combined together. Much larger fridge space. These have big double doors or sometimes huge residential refrigerators in these bigger motorhomes. The smaller motorhomes, sometimes you might only get a 4 cubic foot refrigerator as opposed to an 18. Storage. You get into one of these big motorhomes, the hole underneath is completely open. You can pack as much stuff as you'd like in there, plus in the cabinetry on the inside. Weight is not a factor. You can put as much stuff as you'd like in this. Your Class B, you have to be very careful with what cargo you put into it. There's only room for so many items in such a small van.
So it looks like space seems to be a big thing.
Yes.
I guess a Class C would sort of be in between from a lot of those aspects. You have more space in a Class C than you would in a Class B, but less than you would in a Class A.
Yeah, so it's kind of a compromise between the B and the A when you have the Class Cs, which you can also get with a diesel engine. So it is a little bit bigger than the Class Bs. However, your sleeping capacity goes up. Now, if you get one with a diesel engine, like on the Mercedes Sprinter chassis, yes, it may be bigger, but you're still at the same fuel economy, if not better. So you can tour around, drive around. It's a little bit bigger than, a little bit wider than a standard parking spot, but still very easy to travel around. You could still go right in the middle of a city and park it and venture out into the middle of the city. Doing that with these bigger motorhomes is a little bit tougher to do. But you can still sleep 4 to 6 to even 8 people in a C class, whereas a B class, you can only sleep 2 or maybe 4.
What about new versus used?
Used does give you a chance to save financially. One of the things I do suggest to people that are new to the RV industry is to start off with something used, because it helps keep the budget down a bit, helps them really find out that this lifestyle is for them before, like I say, before taking the plunge in something a bit nicer, a bit bigger, and going from there. New, of course, it's always the nicest. You start off with it from the beginning, and you take care of it, and it lasts you a lifetime.
Can you buy the wrong RV?
With the proper help, no. Because if you have someone like myself that can really help you, take you through the steps, take the time to find the perfect unit for you, once you get in RVing, there's no turning back. Once you're in it, it's endless amounts of fun. Like literally having that ability to go anywhere you want, whenever you want, grab your family, go away for a weekend. It's just a blast. But I do always recommend to customers starting off a bit smaller, travel around, get to use it. Then from there, you can, like you said before, take the plunge.
Whether you're drawn to the travel capacity, home amenities, and luxury of a Class A, the adventure-ready agility of a Class B, or a family-friendly combination of the two in a Class C, the drivable RV market has something for everyone. Deciding on the right one may feel intimidating at first, but once you're behind the wheel of your new motorhome, ready for whatever adventures await you, all of those worries will have turned into memories fading in your rear view. Living in an RV is not for everyone, but for some, a mobile residence offers an inexpensive way to tour long distances comfortably without having to live out of a suitcase. So it's no surprise that a musician would naturally gravitate towards this kind of lifestyle. Meet rock star Matt, the lead singer of Wicked Truth, a band which also happens to feature yours truly on the drums. The band is about to embark on a U.S. tour, and Matt has decided to take his new home along for the ride.
My name is Matthew Bunt, and I am the singer in a rock and roll band. I have just purchased my first RV, which is a 1998 Ford Travel-Air. When I got it, it was in good condition. The guy that I bought it from was very straightforward about all the things that he was aware of that needed to be done and fixed. I took it to the garage and we replaced all 6 of the tires. That was probably the biggest chunk of change on that bill. They replaced the brake pads, the calipers, the stabilizers. I don't know what any of this stuff is, which is why I took it to a mechanic. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Then standard oil change, but other than that, everything seems to be running like a dream.
As a newbie, Matt opted for a used Class C that fit his budget, and he wasn't too particular about the features. As long as it had a couple of beds and a bathroom, he was ready to roll.
I looked at a bunch online. Pricing was a big factor for me because I am not independently wealthy. I cashed in my retirement fund to buy this. And this one that I saw looked to be in good shape. It was within my price range. It had everything that I needed. And I went out and took a look at it. And first impressions were that it looked good. It was roomy enough. It had everything that I was gonna need for the RV. It had the bathroom and the fridge and, the kitchen I'm never gonna use. It could sleep myself and a guitar player, which is also gonna be crucial to this tour. It came with its own funky smell, which I've been working on since I got it, and it's much better now.
And as with most RV rookies, there's one common concern on his mind.
Black tank. I'm apprehensive about the black tank. I can't imagine that's a pleasant job, but it's all part of it, right?
Another adjustment Matt feels may take some getting used to is the size of his new vehicle.
Driving it on the highway today for the first time was super intimidating. I usually drive like a bit of a jerk in my car. I'll be honest about that. But it's a different ball game in the RV. Very passive, staying in the slow lane or center lane, and just being super mindful of everybody around me and how close I'm getting. And yeah, there were a few moments of like, oh wow, that's close. This is a big vehicle. But no, it's a different drive. But I'm sure I'm going to be able to make the adjustments to drive it safely.
Once he gets the hang of driving his rig and a lesson or two in emptying the black tank, Matt will be the perfect candidate for full-time RVing with a rather accurate understanding of what it entails.
For my lifestyle, I mean, I'm gigging sometimes like 5-6 hours away from where I live. And having to drive there, do a show, and then drive all the way back at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, it's a lot. Like, you know, falling asleep behind the wheel, that stuff happens. And just to be able to have the freedom of after the gig to be like, all right, I'm already home, and just go to sleep. I'm really looking forward to that.
Just like many musicians, RVers also pursue their passion, spending months or even years on the road in search of experience, opportunity, and the meaning of living life in the moment. So there's no doubt that this newcomer will fit right in.
I'm sure I'm gonna be loving it. I'm sure I'm gonna be loving the freedom and the feeling of being on the road and just, you know, doing what I love and moving on to do it again somewhere else, and always having the comfort of home with me, no matter where I am.
Ability to comfortably take your RV just about anywhere. These are just a few of the many power conservation tips that you can employ to help keep your costs down and your off-the-grid time longer, smoother, and more enjoyable. But of course, camping without hookups won't just require you to be mindful of your energy consumption. Being mindful of your water consumption will also be necessary. With this in mind, John has a few helpful tips to help you make the most efficient use of your water supply while you're boondocking.